And welcome once again to The Verdict. We're glad you're with us. I'm Mick Cornett. Kent Myers is along with me. We're here each and every week talking to interesting people and discussing topical issues. And this week we're discussing the Judicial Nominating Commission.
Yes, we're going to be talking about how our judges are selected, particularly when there is a vacancy. Now, we know that our district judges are elected by the people, and the Court of Appeals judges are appointed or elected on a retention ballot, as the case may be. But what happens when there's a vacancy? Someone retires, passes away, or for whatever reason is no longer on the bench. How are those vacancies filled? They're filled by, in part, the work of the Judicial Nominating Commission, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Should be fascinating. Kent Myers, Mick Cornett, we're back here on The Verdict, and we'll get into this topic when we return.
Every day America uses clean-burning natural gas instead of coal or oil is a day of victory for our environment. That's why Chesapeake chose to explore for natural gas exclusively, and we've never looked back. Because natural gas burns twice as clean as oil or coal, and reducing carbon emissions to combat potential global warming is every bit as urgent as cutting our dependence on energy imports. As America's #1 driller of new gas wells, Chesapeake is moving fast to find untapped reserves of natural gas here at home. It's the right fuel for America's economy and the fuel for a clean air future. We just happen to be early to see it so clearly. Chesapeake, natural gas wins the day.
We are back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Very pleased today to have a friend of mine join us on The Verdict, Robert Margo, who is a member of the Oklahoma Judicial Nominating Commission from this central Oklahoma district. He is did his undergraduate work at SMU, did his law work at Oklahoma City University. He's active in state and county bar associations in a number of activities. He's had over 30 years trial experience. He's a fellow in the American College of Trial Lawyers. He's been a member of the Oklahoma Judicial Nominating Commission since 2003. And he's a well-known defense lawyer, usually is on the side of defending the medical profession in malpractice cases, has had over 100 jury trials in his career. But he's on the Judicial Nominating Commission, and that's why he is here to talk to us today. This is his first visit. Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, let's start at the basics. What is the Judicial Nominating Commission? Why do we need one, and how did this one get started?
This was started back in the late 60s by a constitutional amendment, as a matter of fact, of the Oklahoma Constitution that was brought about by the court scandals in the late 60s here in Oklahoma, including on the Supreme Court. So this was the answer to that, and this the constitutional amendment was passed by the people to create this Judicial Nominating Commission in order to fill vacancies that there may be on the various courts.
Mm-hmm. And prior to that, it was done in what manner?
Prior to that, I believe it was all elections, for the Supreme Court as well as all the inferior courts in Oklahoma.
So if there was, prior to the commission, if there was a vacancy, there would be a special election called to try to fill that vacancy. Now, unless it's a vacancy comes up, I guess, very close to an election time, the Judicial Nominating Commission will work toward filling it.
That's correct, yes.
Now, You don't actually fill the vacancy, do you?
No, we are charged with sending three applicants, three candidates to the governor, and the governor is charged with selecting one of those three for the appointment to the bench for whatever judge it is.
Now, let's say, for instance, that an applicant does not come out of your commission as one of the three names going to the governor, but the governor wants to appoint that person or appoint someone not on that list. May the governor do so?
He cannot. It is, that's the beauty of this. The politics hopefully is taken out of the whole process, and the governor must appoint one of the three that the Judicial Nominating Commission sends to him.
Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the commission. How many members are there? How are they selected and the like?
There are 13 members of the commission. 6 are lawyers that come out of the old 6 congressional districts in the state.
Now, how are they selected?
They are selected by the members of the bar in that particular district and by an election. When I ran, there were 5 of us, and they are selected by the members of the bar in that district. Then there are 6 lay persons who are appointed by the governor. There can be no more than 3 from any political party, and they too serve for 6-year terms. All of these are staggered terms for both the lawyers and the layman. Then the Judicial Nominating Commission itself selects an at-large member who serves for a 2-year term.
Well, if I'm hearing you correctly, there are 7 lay members of this commission and only 6 attorneys. I would have guessed it was all members of the bar. It just seems that in a matter of course that you would have attorneys choosing your judicial nominees. Why am I so off base there?
And I think that's the beauty of the commission is it is nonpartisan. As you say, the laymen outnumber, so to speak, the lawyers, and I think when this was all set back in the late 60s, that was the purpose of it, to not have lawyers being the sole determiners of who will be on the bench.
Let me ask you to not disclose anything that is confidential, because I know your deliberations are confidential, but do you find in the course of discussing a particular applicant or a particular vacancy that the lay people really do participate?
They are very much participants in the process, and they, without giving away anything, they are very vocal. And I think that's the beauty of the process is, yes, the laymen have a big input into who the nominees are that go to the governor.
Well, what are the positions that you would fill or be asked to, not fill, be asked to submit 3 names to the governor for?
The positions can be on the Supreme Court, on the Court of Criminal Appeals, the Court of Civil Appeals, and the Workers' Compensation Court. Those only come through the Judicial Nominating Commission. Others are the district judges and the associate district judges, which are sent by us to the governor if there is a vacancy that occurs by retirement or death.
Now, let's take the Supreme Court, for example. Have you had occasion in your service so far since 2003 to deal with any Supreme Court appointments?
We, in fact, last week sent up 3 names to the governor for the vacancy that was in District 1, I believe, of the Supreme Court. Since I've been on the commission, I've been fortunate to have 4 appointments to the Supreme Court and 2 to the Court of Criminal Appeals. So,
If a person is interested in serving on the state Supreme Court, what do they need to do? What's the process?
our process is the governor has to declare that there's a vacancy on the court. At that point, then, the vacancy is advertised in the Oklahoma Bar Journal, Legal Journal, as well as other locations. and there is a certain period of time for the applicant to get in their application. After that, then, the Oklahoma State Bureau, OSBI, investigates each applicant and renders a report on that applicant to the Judicial Nominating Commission. Once the applications are in through the deadline, and once the OSBI has done its investigation, then we meet and interview the applicants that are qualified by statute to for the position that they're seeking, in the instance you're talking about for the Supreme Court.
Okay, well, let me get us to a break here. Robert Margo is our guest. He's on the Judicial Nominating Committee, filling us in on the many intricacies involved with the Judicial Nominating Commission. We appreciate you being on The Verdict.
Glad to be here.
We'll have more with Robert Margo right after this.
Shining is taking responsibility. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, we know managing your health care can be overwhelming, and it's our job to help you meet the challenge. By guiding, supporting, and showing the way, we encourage you to gain control. Because we believe the best tool we can give you is the confidence to take charge. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma, shining through.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers are visiting with Robert Margo about the Judicial Nominating Commission. You mentioned that there's a layperson who serves just a one-year term each year and kind of serves as that seventh layperson on this 13-person committee. Where's that process and who's serving at this point?
Well, they actually serve a 2-year term, and they are elected by at least 8 members of the sitting commission at that time. Merv Johnson just went off as our lay member, and Lee Allen Smith has just been sworn in as our new lay member for a 2-year term.
So in our centennial year, Lee Allen will be the at-large member, or at least for part of the year.
Interesting.
He's been on the show about the centennial a number of times. So far, in the 4 or 5 years you've been on, and kind of projecting it out to the end of the term, about how many vacancies will be filled in part through the work of the commission over a 6-year period?
Well, since I've been on the commission, the governor has appointed 43 positions, everything from Supreme Court to the appellate courts and the district courts, as well as the workers' compensation court.
What kind of, I don't want to use the word lobbying and make it sound inappropriate, but what sort of campaigning or support can an applicant furnish to the commission to enhance their opportunity, their chance of being appointed by the commission? What's appropriate and what's inappropriate?
Well, the application itself suggests that no more than 10 letters of recommendation come to the commission or to the commissioners. We do not know, we have no idea what any applicant's political party is or their political persuasion is, one way or the other. Some commissioners will interview applicants outside of the commission. I've decided I don't want to do that because I want the input of the other commissioners into my own decision. So otherwise, there's no contact with the applicant, him or herself.
Well, explain the procedure then to evaluate a candidate. What was it? Just an interview process and looking at a resume, or what do you do?
It is an application. The application, the OSBI report. Each commissioner then gets those, reviews those, and prepares him or herself to interview a particular candidate or applicant. The chairman of the commission at that point selects a lawyer and a layperson to conduct the initial interview with the candidate, but then it is open up to any other commissioner to ask whatever questions they would like to.
Does your commission interview everybody that has applied, or do you make any initial first cut?
It depends really on the number of applicants that there are. We have had some positions that have had upwards of 20 or more applicants. When that has occurred, we have met and have cut the applicants to a certain number where we can get in a good interview with a certain number of applicants.
Robert, and I know Kent, you've served on this committee too, which we haven't talked about, but it's why you're so well versed on the subject here. But I'm wondering, and I want both of you to answer this question. When you see the three names go to the governor, in your mind you cannot help but think, I bet the governor picks this guy or this woman. How often are you right? How often does the governor surprise you when the three names are headed over to his office?
Well, I'll tell you, the applicants that we've sent, I think the governor has had a hard choice on most of them. Some of them you can decide that that's probably going to be the one he selects, but the governor has surprised us in more than one occasion since I've been on the commission anyway.
Kent, what's your experience?
Well, in the 70 some odd positions that I was involved in and coming up with the three names, I think I was always wrong. I don't think I ever picked it right. No, I really don't remember, but I remember, just as Robert says, I think I was at least surprised half the time with the selection, and I was at a time when I served under both a Republican and a Democratic governor, and they were equal in their surprise factor.
Well, do you all get a heads up about who was named, or do you just read about it in the paper like everybody else?
No, the administrator of the court will advise us that the governor has made such and such a selection, but that's often after it's already in the newspaper.
Has it been your experience that when the three names go up that the governor interviews those three people again? Yes. So they get an interview by the commission and an interview by the governor?
That's right. Governor Henry himself interviews each applicant, and it's my understanding he himself makes the decision, and he then notifies those that have been selected, and he also calls those that he has chosen not to select.
Robert, and I assume you know the answer to this, but you may not. Is the Oklahoma system, is it typical? Is this the way that the other 49 states determine their judges, or is this unusual?
Well, it is, quite frankly, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that several states have both an election process as well as a selection process through the governor.
So are there any changes that you'd like to see? I mean, does this process work pretty well, or is there some tweaking that you think would make sense?
I've thought about this, and it's been in, the commission has been going now for approximately 40 years. Believe that in this situation, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I believe it has served the state of Oklahoma very well in the way it's set up and the process that an applicant goes through.
Have you ever had well, I agree with you. Have you ever had a situation where three names have been sent back and the governor said, I don't like any of these three, start over?
No, I haven't been faced with that, but the governor can't do that. And that's the beauty of the process, is that it takes politics totally out of the equation at the Judicial Nominating Commission part of it. And the governor cannot do that.
Do you have any feel for, having served in this position as long as you have and had as much experience in the practices you've had, about whether or not the initial method of selection of district judges, to wit, voting, ought to be changed to some kind of an appointment system?
That has been tossed around, I know, recently, and there's been a lot of suggestions, and I believe even lots of suggestions to the legislature. Some have suggested that the so-called rural counties stay with an elective process, while Tulsa and Oklahoma County would go to a system where you are elected, but then to a retention ballot rather than having to run as a candidate every 4 years. So all of those have been tossed around, and there's a lot of arguments that can be made on both sides of the issue, quite frankly.
When the Judicial Nominating Commission gets together, where do they meet? Is it always in Oklahoma City, or could it be anywhere?
It generally is in Oklahoma City, but it can be anywhere. Since I've been on the commission, we have met for a district judgeship in Tulsa County, in Tulsa. So it can be in anywhere that the chairman decides it's going to be.
We have run out of time. Robert, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we
Yeah,
appreciate
and thanks
the
for
work
your
of the
service
commission.
on the commission.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Robert
Appreciate
Margo with the Judicial Nominating Committee, explaining what is not very well known, the exact process that some of these judges get named to their respective positions, and the role that the governor plays as well. Kent and I'll have a final word right after this. You're watching The Verdict.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
We are wrapping up a show on the Judicial Nominating Committee.
Well, the commission came out of the Supreme Court bribery scandals of the late 60s, early 60s, mid 60s, where several of our Supreme Court justices actually went to jail or had to resign or were impeached because of taking bribes
That
from
is
litigants.
hard for me to believe. I mean, I only know the people who serve in those roles today, and I couldn't imagine a scandal like that being applied to any of them.
Well, I came right out of law school, right into the middle of it, and it was very disarming to me to, after coming out of the ivory tower, thinking about how the justice is supposed to work, and then find out the people that won at the Supreme Court back in those times were the ones that paid the most. The highest bidder got the decision, and that was astounding and disheartening, and thank goodness those justices no longer serve. But this commission came about as a direct result of trying to solve those kinds of problems. Quite frankly, we haven't had those kind of problems since the commission has been in operation, and I think the commission does a great service to the people to make sure that the best possible applicants serve.
I think the system works. So check out our website, theverdict.tv. Tell us about a show you'd like to see. Kent and I'll be back next week. See you then.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.